Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you today on a very dreary Saturday. The gigantic co-joined blobs of rain that have been devastating this half of the country have now made it to New England. They have now made it to Boston. It has been soppily, messily raining all day, which means I have a very pouty little dog. does not want to go anywhere, and yet wants to go somewhere. She just wants nicer weather. That's all. But we've got some mail here. We've got a periodical and some packages. We won't call the packages a book haul. No reason to do that. No, it's just mail. The periodical is the Times Literary Supplement, the TLS, which is full of great stuff and has a letter that infuriated me. There is a letter in the letters column that infuriated me, not because of what the letter writer wrote, because of how the letter writer is responding to what the letter writer is responding to. The letter writer is from Washington, D.C., and writes regarding a book called The Cancel Culture Panic that was reviewed in a recent issue. Regarding Paula Keller's review of The Cancel Culture Panic, if the author and reviewer are going to argue that, quote, cancel culture is something of a myth wielded in bad faith by conservatives, they are going to have to be more accurate in their case studies. Assuming that the account presented of the controversy involving the Harvard history professor Stephen Thernstrom is representative of the book's contents, the reviewer has failed to offer a good analysis of a baseless panic as claimed by the reviewer. The review's summary of that incident, quote, after one of his lectures, some of his African-American students felt uncomfortable about some of his remarks, so they talked to him about it. The student newspaper reported on the incident, but the excitement quickly died down. The students and professor came to some sort of agreement. Thernstrom went on lecturing, close quote. It is a highly misleading account of what actually happened. And here the writer from Washington, D.C. is being generous, despite being angry, because that account is a lie. It's not highly misleading. It's deliberately false. And the writer of the letter goes on to explain. Rather than discussing their concerns with Professor Thernstrom, a couple of students filed a formal complaint charging him with racial insensitivity. While that complaint, largely founded on his reading from the plantation owner journals, self-evidently important primary sources on the subject of slavery, was pending, Thernstrom found himself twisting in the wind without support from colleagues and university administrators, notwithstanding their supposed commitment to academic freedom. So you get the letter writer's entirely right here. I watched this thing as it was unfolding. The professor, in addition to many other primary sources reading about American slavery, was writing about plantation owner journals in which they complained about the owner's financial burden of upkeeping their slaves, or the trouble with the fact that large parts of the country were turning against slavery. It wasn't at all to sympathize with those owners. It was merely meant to read their primary documents. If we had such primary documents for slave owners in ancient Rome, we would consider ourselves very fortunate. Anyway, the professor was cut adrift completely. The university did not come to his defense. His colleagues on the history department did not come to his defense. They did not say, this is perfectly legitimate stuff to read. What on earth are you going on about? Nobody said anything like that. Why? Not because they disagreed with him including those materials in their class, but because they were afraid the mob would attack them next. And the full extent of the attack is not covered in this letter. It wasn't just that he was facing a disciplinary meeting and that his colleagues weren't showing him any support. It was that he's being pilloried on social media and tormented off social media. But anyway, let's read how the letter concludes. Although the complaint was eventually resolved without any action being taken against Thernstrom, he elected, once bitten, twice shy, not to teach the, quote, offending course again. This is hardly a story that belies the reality of cancel culture, and the letter writer is entirely right. It was, in fact, a story that underscores the reality of cancel culture. The professor kept his job, but he also was forced into silence. He was forced into compliance with a hectoring, thin-skinned, victim mentality mob. And he's not the only one. By a long shot, he kept his job. There are plenty of examples that the letter writer could have cited where the person didn't keep their job. Over nothing except entitled students with the power of a mob. Anyway, so that letter was interesting. I wonder if it will get a response. Those of you who might be wondering about the TLS letter page, the subject here that has been occupying us for the last few mail hauls has been the cause of the Civil War being Abraham Lincoln's egotism. A MAGA person wrote in and said that was the reason for the Civil War. A few people wrote in and said, no, that obviously wasn't the reason for the Civil War. And I was kind of expecting that debate would continue. I was actually expecting that the MAGA person would respond defending himself. But that is not in anywhere in the letters column this time around. We'll see if it's next time. But anyway, let's look at the mail on this rainy, gloomy day. I've got a moody little dog to deal with because she does not like the rain. She doesn't like going out in it, but she also doesn't like it when it's happening. So what is this first one? Oh, it's a novel. Okay. It's a novel from the folks at Bloomsbury. Let's see what we have here. We'll put the paperwork out of the way. So this comes out in mid-July, middle of summer. This is by Mark Kurlansky, and it is called Cheesecake, a novel. Okay, all right. This is... Again, the worrying trend that I'm seeing here of the re-uglification of American book covers. For a long time when this channel was, years ago on this channel, I would complain routinely about how American book covers seemed designed to be ugly. And then for a little while, a year, maybe two, suddenly that stopped being true. And now 2025 certainly looks like a lot of it is back. Look at this. Why are the letters jumbled up like that? Is there any reason? No. Why is this picture so bad? There's no depth. There's a one-dimensional piece of paper cut out to look like a piece of cheesecake, cut onto a one-dimensional piece of paper cut out to look like a plate. The lines of the lining of the plate are almost cutting through the outline of the fork. The fork is wrong. Why not a picture of a cheesecake? If this is what you want, why not a photograph of exactly this, only looking good? And anyway, let's see what this is. This is a delectable novel following an ancient recipe for cheesecake as it circulates the Upper West Side. From the restaurant of a conniving landlord to the kitchen of his old-school New Yorkers he's trying to force out. The story is bookended by a history of the first recorded recipe and an appendix containing contemporary recipes. I was just about to say, when we were told about that it was about the story of an ancient recipe for cheesecake, I was about to say out loud, please don't let it include recipes. But it has many recipes. West 86th Street knows its desserts. In the 1970s, the poppy seed strudel, praline ice cream cake, and New York cheesecake are as integral to Manhattan's Upper West Side as clustered pigeons, suited doormen, and greasy diners. That is until Cato comes to town. Cato the Elder, a Roman born in 234 BC, is credited with the earliest written recipe ever found, a recipe for cheesecake. No cream cheese, no graham cracker crust, somehow savory and sweet. The recipe is enigmatic, and suddenly it's all anyone on West 86th Street can talk about. The Katsikas, a Greek cheese-making family who immigrated to open a restaurant in New York, added Cato's pastry to their menu as a ploy to attract upscale diners. After a glowing write-up in the Times, the recipe becomes a neighborhood fixation, and the Katsikas' patriarch, Art, buys up as much of the block real estate as he can. Sorry, I'm allergic to twee. As the portentous pastry appears in the lives of the old-school residents, Art is pricing out of their apartments. A sidewalk view of West 86th Street emerges. A high-profile family planning a high-pressure bar mitzvah, a painter's muse with a terrible secret, an eccentric art collector plotting revenge, sometimes laced with green M&Ms, sometimes with sage, sometimes with spite. Cato's Cheesecake heralds the changes to the West 86th Street. Okay. All right, well. Okay. This does not sound like my cup of tea, but I will give it a try. It doesn't come out until mid-July. That is eons from now. The whole country, the whole world will be drastically different when this book appears. In hardcover? Are you appearing in hardcover? Yes, you're appearing in hardcover for $27. So I'm not going to read this advance copy. I'm not going to bother with it. It's too far away. But later on, early summer, maybe even midsummer, I will definitely read it. Even though it's not my cup of tea, I will read it. So let's see what this next one is. Oh, it's a finished copy of something. That's good. What have we got here? Oh, very nice. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, this comes out soon. Yes. Oh no, it doesn't. It came out in the first week of March. All right, this is late getting to me. I might write about it anyway. For Open Letters Review, the online literary journal where I'm one of the editors, if the book is not out yet, reprinted in paperback, it's still fair game for Open Letters. I might write about this anyway. I'll have to read it first. This is by Max Adams, and it's called The Birth of the Anglo-Saxons. Great. Fantastic. I read and reviewed at least one of this author's books. He wrote a book called The Viking Wars, which I liked and wrote about. I don't know if I wrote about any other of his books. I think he wrote one other. I'd like to write about this one, I think, even though it's late getting to me. A brilliant, profound, and authoritative history of the golden age of the Anglo-Saxon kingdom in Britain. For too long, the 8th century has been a neglected era in British history, a shadowland between the death of St. Bede and the triumphs of King Alfred and the eventual unification of England. But before the victories of King, they write it Alfred here, the A and the E together when it's King Alfred to you, okay? Against the Viking invaders, the kingdom of Mercia, spread across a broad swath of central England, was the reigning power that exercised central political authority for the first time since the Roman Empire. This authority was used to construct trading networks and markets, to develop strong economic, cultural, and political links with the continent, and to lay the foundations for a system of defense that would be invigorated and reinvented by Alfred at the end of the 9th century. And this is a history of that time. Fantastic. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, the back of the pub sheet has blurbs for the Viking Wars, and Open Letters Review is mentioned there. I don't have Viking Wars. I had the galley copy. I got rid of it. I got the finished copy. I got rid of that, and I never got the paperback from Pegasus Books. So I don't have a copy of it. But that's great, fantastic. All right. So a little bit disappointing that I didn't get an advance copy of this, and then B, even the finished copy is a month late getting to me. But it doesn't matter. I'm still going to read it. Still, I'm almost certainly going to enjoy it. And then we have the next package here, and then we will be done. For this very gloomy Saturday mail haul. Let's see what this next one is. Another finished copy. Oh, very good. All right. Are you also late getting me? Yes, you are. This came out on April 1st. This is The Man in the Iron Mask, the new Lawrence Ellsworth translation of Dumas. So he's just going through all of these. Oh, how wonderful. Okay. All right. So this has this illustration at the beginning. Let's see here. This is the final adventure of the greatest heroes in French literature, and takes the Musketeers on an epic saga from the royal palace of Louis XIV to the dreaded dungeons of the Bastille. French literature, sure. But the greatest heroes in French culture? Well, that would be Inspector Clouseau, would it not? D'Artagnan, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, you know their names, the 4 loyal comrades whose saga began in the celebrated novel The Three Musketeers and concludes here in the thrilling The Man in the Iron Mask. The Musketeers are drawn back to the glittering court of Louis XIV, the Sun King, where intrigues, political rivalries, and royal jealousy pose deadly threats to the heroes and their loved ones. And then once more, our 4 swashbucklers are enmeshed in a conspiracy that threatens the crown itself. Fantastic. From midnight abductions through secret passageways to swordplay and sacrifice on the wild shores of Brittany, this sparkling new translation of the final adventures of the greatest heroes of the swashbuckling literature presents readers with an unforgettable tale from the pen of the master. Great. Fantastic. Okay. Well, all right. Okay. All right, yes, you came out on April 1st. You are late getting to me, and your notice, this is an advanced reading copy, not for sale or distribution, is not true. This is the finished copy, but that's all right. That's okay, because Ellsworth has made a name for himself with Dumas. You would be foolish to read another English language translation of anything by Dumas other than by this guy. So now we have his latest one. It's again, late getting to me, but I want to review both of these, even though they're late getting me. I still want to review both of them. And then there's this thing that I guess in a backdoor kind of way is about gentrification, but it doesn't come out until the whole new world has dawned, so I don't have to worry about it. So that's our mail for today. An old novel, a new novel, and a work of history. The Birth of the Anglo-Saxons. I'll have to see if maybe there's a secondhand a copy of in paperback of the Viking Wars. See, that's one of the things the penalties that I pay for living without a retail bookstore in Boston. The Viking Wars may have appeared on the new release table of a Barnes and Noble in paperback. I might have seen it there and maybe even been tempted to buy it. But the only retail bookstore in Boston will not stock a book by a man about men. So there's no chance I would ever see the paperback there. Not that I would be welcome or let past the velvet rope at the front door. But a big, wonderful, impersonal box retail store, Books A Million or Barnes & Noble, there is none in Boston. So I don't get to see paperbacks of things like the Viking Wars. It's a shame, but if I remember, I'll try to leave a link to my review down below. But anyway, that's our mail. I doubt very much that there will be later mail delivery today because it is periodically coming down in buckets. This is just the sort of time when the FedEx and the DHL drivers just decide they've got better things to do than deliver books to a lonely old shut-in. So probably no mail until Monday. But anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.